So, welcome back from the break, and now I would like to invite Ian Strachan to our stage to tell us a bit about Workday recruiting. So, Ian, are you with us?
I am indeed. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. I'll just share out my screen quickly. Can you see that?
It's coming up. And now it's there, so you're good to start. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the recruiting session for Workday 2021R2. Again, some practicalities here. I think you've probably all seen these quite a bit, so I won't hang around on these, but we have our Q&A session. We're recording. You can download this presentation. And of course, there's our Digital HR Insights community, which we would love to see you join. In case anyone wasn't in the absence session from earlier, this is me. My name's Ian Strachan, just over 7 years in the ecosystem, and I'm certified in HCM Core, Absence, Advanced Recruiting and Launch. Our standard safe harbour statement here. I won't go through that, but it's perhaps worth reading before you make any decisions based on what we're going to talk about today. And so our agenda today is Workday. We'll go through the Workday 2021R2 main features, and then some other features coming with this release. And then there are three features from 2021R1 that arrived after the go live of that release and after our last release event. So we'll cover those, and if we've got time, we'll go and we'll talk about the roadmap too. So our main features for this release in recruiting, firstly, default external career site branding. So this feature is about branding of external career sites, and the items in this feature were all released previously as optional, but are now mandatory. So if you don't have a custom brand already in use, Workday will apply a default custom brand for you now to your external career sites. And just to note, you can still only have one job posting template per external career site. That's not changing. So you must have different content for, if you need different content for one template, then you can continue to, as we already can, use condition rules to deliver different content based on different types of jobs that are being applied for and so on. So in our sort of additional details, if you will, we Workday now providing this default brand unless you have a custom brand already configured. If you want to see what that's going to look like for your organisation, just take a look at one of your external career sites from your previous tenant. And if you haven't already sort of taken a custom brand into use, then you'll see what that's going to look like pushed out directly from Workday. This default brand that they deliver can itself be edited, or of course you can edit your own custom ones if you've got them. And if you want to use that as a starting point, that's great. Or again, of course, you can just use it as it is, or create new. But our recommendation is about creating your branding now if you don't already have your custom brand. Well, we see this as a really nice way to differentiate your career site and keep your messaging aligned with your brand. So it's a relatively not so labour intensive process to really push your brand out there. On the configuration piece, and again, just to note that it's automatic if you haven't already configured. So just to reiterate that, because otherwise it will come along and surprise you. But the process is you need to make edits to your branding. So via edit brand, make your edits. Then you need to, of course, put your brand, make it effective on whichever external career site it's relevant for, with the edit external career site branding section, and then you need to publish that. So via the View All Brands report, just publish the brand. I've also added here some helpful links, just from prior dates, but nonetheless they're really helpful if you're thinking about creating that custom brand for the first time. So again, on that configuration piece, just to cover this off, if we edit the brand, we need to add our brand name, description. We need to configure our header, logo and banner, button shapes and colours, and we can also then go and colour and choose the various options we require for our progress bar in the job application process that's visible to our candidates. And lastly, of course, we need to then review that and submit those changes. So with that, let's jump into the tenant and actually have a look at how this works. If I can find the tenant, there it is. So here we are in our demo tenant again. I'm just going to go to one of my, let's go and see the external career site. So I'll just go to one of these external career sites I've already configured. As you can see, some rather rubbish branding here already. I'm probably the last person who should choose colours for these things. But as you can see, this is all branded as we've chosen in the configuration I showed, options I showed just now. If I then go to our test tenant again and look at editing the brand, I'll just search for my brand. And edit that. And I'll choose the demonstration brand. That's those beautiful colours we just saw. So just to make some simple changes to colours, if I change one of these colours here, maybe, and this is all hex colours, so it's really helpful if you've got all that branding information already with your hex colour numbers, then these are really easy to drop in there. And maybe I want to change some other colours as well. Let's change that to a nice-ish red. So I'll make those changes and go past all this. What have I made an error with? Oh, okay, thank you, Workday. Let's try that again. These things sometimes happen with Workday, but it may be the internet connection that I'm using and it's dropping out a little bit, so apologies for that. But it seems to have saved my changes there, so that's good. So now if I go back to my page, and it has not helped those changes. Well, anyway, so apologies, there's some issue there going on with our testing tenants. These testing tenants can be, they're used for testing, of course, so that they're not as reliable as your preview tenants and so forth. But anyway, then we can see the process of changing that branding information. That's pretty straightforward. I'd also just if I go to a tenant again and search for external career site to make those. If I've changed my brand, I need to apply that to my career site. And the job details section, if I pick up, say for instance, global, if I come down to my job details section, you can, if I, where am I? Go to the job details section. Oops. Yeah, so in our job details section, I can see my job posting template here. If I click into it, here's the template being used. I mentioned about having different content earlier. This is exactly where that works. So We have these condition rules that you can build, standard sort of condition rules using whatever is relevant information, and we can have different content delivered out to our job postings, rather than, because we can only have this single template per external career site. So, but we can have multiple content. And again, if I go and check in here, we can see this one's just based around whether or not there's a contract type for a job posting. And if there is, it's going to get this particular content here that we've configured, including this nice beach logo. And if we don't have that contract, then we're going to get a different template with actually a picture of my dog. But anyway, just to show the difference there. So if I now go and have a look at our career site and how that looks in our job postings, we were in global. So here we are in that career site. If we were to look at one of these jobs, for instance, auditor, we can see we've got a logo here, and that is the only sort of thing I changed. But of course, that branding changes. They can apply throughout that job posting. If I go to marketing coordinator, we can see there's my dog. But anyway, as you can see, we can have different job postings having different branding information, text, logos, about us, etc. So we can have that branding experience sort of divided out according to your actual requirements there. Anyway, let me move on. Some additional considerations. There were some old branding configuration options that are now removed. And again, this was optional before, it's now mandatory. So these are now actually removed. Our external career site and these other external career site options. And we can no longer choose whether or not we use an existing brand versus a custom brand for our sites. And we have these fields, in essence, moved into the Create Brand section instead. And lastly, we do not configure logos on the headers any longer on these tasks and web services. And also the About Us section has moved a little in the Create Edit Career Site page in their tenants. And of course, we can now set up these sidebars, as we were seeing just a moment ago, again with different About Us sections. So here's a summary for this feature. Existing default custom brandings are no longer supported. If you've not created a custom brand yet for your external career sites, one will be provided for you. And it's very much worth checking how this looks, of course. And if you already have your custom brand and no actions required, then you might want to review your branding and see if the new options are helpful, especially when it comes to having separate branding for different job postings and so on. So next up is error handling and help text for candidate home pages. So for Workday 2021R2, we can now create our own intro message for the create account page for candidates. The password rules will be clear, so we can see that here. The password rules are clearly displayed when the account is being created, and if somebody tries to create a password that doesn't comply with our rules, the rules that are being broken are also very clearly displayed. And just note that whilst we can configure this message, the types of password rules we have aren't configurable. These messages that come along here, for instance, aren't configurable. So if we use, there must be an uppercase character, the error that will show if they're not used will be this. It's not configurable, but it will display quite clearly. So configuration of the introductory message is kind of simple. We just go to Edit and Set Up Recruiting, and in the Candidate Home Account Intro Message section, we can add our rich text messaging. So I'm just going to jump into the tenant again. In here. And just a quick note that currently, Workday are aware of this, of course, currently this feature doesn't work with the new search UI that we just saw a moment ago. But they do tell me that that will be fixed before this release goes live or shortly thereafter. But for now, it doesn't work with the new search UI, so I'm just going to go and turn that off. And this was what we saw just now with the sidebars, and that's just here, so we just need to turn that off temporarily. And then, so now if you want to see how that looks, if I go to the Global Careers, External Career side again. Oh. And choose to sign in and create an account, we can now see we've got our preferred message here. Our password rules are very clearly displayed. And if I try to submit, we can see quite clearly the rules that I've broken. So in summary, we have this new introductory message available. The password rules are really clear, and if the candidates make a mistake, the system will guide them very clearly too. Obviously, we need to configure that message, but the password rules are whatever we've chosen from the available rules. But if we do nothing, of course, there's nothing really for us to do as far as the password criteria are concerned, that if they're already there in the system for you. So next up is... Just
a second, Ian. Can I just interrupt you for a minute? Mm-hmm. Okay, there is a question actually related to the career site. So yeah. I'll just read it out for you. I haven't seen career site with 2 columns earlier. Is that something that came out with this release or earlier? What I mean is the view in which you can select the open position and it displays right on the right-hand side.
Yeah, so this was part of, if we go back to here, this career site branding. We have this new sidebars feature in there, and that was sort of shown. In fact, if I go back, hold on, to the, where are we? We go back to here. We've just spoken about external career site branding and this error handling. The search, this piece here that we're going to talk about shortly, this external career site search experience, job details, we'll cover that off a little bit in there. But yes, it is a new feature. To answer the question, yeah, it is indeed a new feature for this release. Is these sidebars that you can configure? I assume that's what you're talking about.
All right, I think that have answered your question. If there's any more questions, then please just post them. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you. Obviously, if you want to, if you'd like to explore that deeper, then do contact us afterwards, and we'll get back to you by email and go into these things a little deeper with one of the probably one of the other recruiting consultants. So yeah. Candidate interview reminders. This is quite a nice new feature as well. So we can now schedule interview reminders for candidates by email and by push notification for those internal candidates if they're using the Workday app. Notification designer can be used. Obviously, I'm not going to cover that here today because this was a new feature in Workday2021R1, not a new feature for R2. But the image here shows how an interview reminder by email could look if it was created with the notification designer itself. If you'd like some help with Notification Designer or whatever, of course, speak to your recruiting consultant here at TietoEVRY. The main point here is that this helps your recruiters by taking some of the manual effort away and reducing errors. So let me just move to the next slide. So we've got a new report as well, view all upcoming candidate interview reminders. So obviously this will show details about reminders that will be sent out. Again, just to help us administer those if you want to see where we are. And as far as configuration is concerned, we firstly need to go into Edit and Set Up Notifications and ensure that Show Reminders is ticked on, which is here. And then we need to scroll down to Notification Delivery Settings in Recruiting and go to Candidate Reminders, set a routing rule with a notification type of Candidate Reminders, which you can see, I've already done here. And next we need to create a new message template, but again for today I'll show one I've already created. So here we can see the correct notification type is used for the message template, and also notice that if you can see that here, there are dynamic fields in here, not just flat text. So in its basic form, this feature is of course automatically available as long as reminders are turned on in Edit Tenant Setup Notifications. But your recruiter, then your recruiters will be able to use it even if you do not configure your own template. However, if we complete this configuration, we can give our recruiters full suggested messaging, and we can put fields in from Workday and so on. We also need an email template, or if we use Notification Designer, we can use a notification template. But for today, I'll just use an email template we've already got in our tenant. And just to note, this message template will of course create the body of the message the candidate will receive in their reminder. So let's get back into our tenant. Before I show you anything here, it is just a note really that it is recommended to have a to-do step on your job requisition PP. Just as a reminder to set up your interview schedule settings for each job requisition, so that they're created when the job requisition is created. So it's just something worth calling out there. But again, for today's demo, let's just look at an existing job rec and add a friendly candidate reminder, say a day before the actual interview. So here we are logged in as Logan, who's an HR admin, which in our tenant also gives all the recruiting admin security and tasks. So let's assume you've already configured your tenant setup, your message and notification templates. First, I'll find one of our existing job requisitions. Excuse me. In here, if I go to my related actions and job change, I can manage my interview scheduling settings. And in here, we go to candidate reminder settings because we turned that on in the Edit Tenant Setup. So now this is here, and I go down. We need to ensure, obviously, this tick box is on. It's supposed to be defaulted to on, but they say that's how it will be when this release goes live. You may find currently in preview it's not defaulted as on, so just be aware that if you come here and it's all empty and it just looks like this, you just need to tick that on to bring it in. And if you do so, of course, there's no content here because we've got to select those templates that we've decided to use before it can bring that default content that we've configured in the system. So yeah, you notice all the content defaults in here. If I wanted to add a dynamic field in here, rather than say us, perhaps I wanted to say with simply like this, I can just update my content by adding these from these tags. Obviously, there's a lot of different fields I could choose in here, but just for the demonstration, I thought that might be a sort of a sensible one. And we've already got this sending out one day before the interview at a particular time based on our locale. So it's you know, you have to think about what time you want those to be sent out, of course. And again, just to note, I've now changed this in the middle of scheduling this interview for this particular job requisition. If you've got translations going on behind for your messages, of course this will not now be translated because I've changed it, I've edited it, so I'm not actually using the default template that we've configured in the system for this to be used. If I want to, if I think actually I'd like the translation to go away, I can just untick this edit message content or enable content reminder and just retick it, and it'll all come back in as it was as standard. But anyway, let's leave that for now. Assuming we're not using translation services, we've picked our numbers of days that we want to wait before or how many days before the interview we want this to send out. So if I say OK, so now let's see how this looks. Now this works if I schedule an interview for a candidate. So if I come in and proxy as one of our actual recruiters, Carmen, and I'll start with proxy, and let's go and find our job requisition there, which was 294. Yep. And we'll go to one of the candidates that's applied for this job. Say John Smith, and schedule an interview. If we'll accept this click, that would be fantastic. Here we go. Sorry, it's a bit of a delay there. So obviously I need to pick a date. Well, let's say maybe Monday. And obviously I can pick some other settings here as usual. If I click next and pick a time. And now I can click next again and submit my schedule, my interview schedule. This will now get entered into the system and will pick up the message template that we edited a moment ago and send that out obviously on the appropriate time to the candidate. So, for instance, if I were to go and take a look at a previous application that candidate has made, if we can find John, go and look at our application here. So if we go and look for his application for Chief of Staff, for instance, and we go down to the timeline, we can see, for instance, that previously an automatic message was sent out. We can go and check what that looks like here, and we can see the content in there that is based around the configuration we've built in there. We can also, sorry, that was the wrong message, here, the interview reminder. So we can see that we've included the recruiter's name in the message that went out to the candidate, so we can see that that's working based on the configuration we added. So if I turn next page, so some considerations, some additional considerations here. Just reminder really that these reminders can only be sent out to candidates, not to recruiters. They'll literally go out to the candidate's email address, so we don't get to choose that. So this is not a way to schedule reminders for recruiters. Also, for clarity, just here are some scenarios and sort of how these reminders would behave. So again, if you schedule for some reason an interview date in the past, of course no reminder will be sent. But also, if, for instance, you said I want to send out an interview reminder 3 days before, and you schedule an interview to happen in 2 days' time, what will happen is the reminder will just get sent out immediately as soon as the next reminder job runs, and it's about once every hour. And again, if your interview is scheduled before assigning settings, then reminders will not be sent out because obviously the candidate is already sort of scheduled into the system. I think the overall concept is that once a reminder is set for a candidate, even if the reminder hasn't been sent out yet, but once it's set, any additional changes you make to configuration will not update that reminder. That reminder is submitted into the system. So that's so just be sort of aware of that. Excuse me. So some additional considerations again. When we are, firstly, that tick box we saw for enabling, again, I mentioned it before, it's supposed to be defaulted on, but it may be off when you look at it at the moment in preview. Also, as we saw, we can use dynamic fields, not just flat text. And our recommendation is that you should have a to-do step in your job requisition BP to remind people to manage their interview settings. So to summarise, we now have interview reminders for candidates. We need to configure the tenant setup options and our email and message templates. And it's wise to have that to-do step. And again, if we do nothing, we will not be able to send candidate interview reminders from the system like this. So next up, external career site search experience and job details. I think this may touch on something that we had in that question there from the audience. So this provides an improved user experience for applicants, making it easier to navigate when searching for and viewing jobs on your external career sites. It's sort of great. It gives you a greater branding and recruiting marketing capability, and allows you to provide additional information for applicants about your organisation and details specific to job posting templates. So we've already seen a little of how this works when we were looking at our external career site earlier, but as it's a new feature, I thought it would be good to sort of detail this out here as well. So in this image, we can see a sidebar here showing our test tenant company's logo, GMS, and some sample text. And just I configured this just to show some of the options. So it's sample text, it's rich text, so we can have colours and bold and underline and bullets and so forth, and external links. And we have a sort of introduce yourself section as well, where people can go and introduce themselves if they want to give their information to us to use more generally than just on one particular job posting. So further on the overview, where our report facet filters that we used we'll be using our Find Jobs reports that are powering this external career site. Now we'll display across the top of the screen, and again you may have noticed that a moment ago. So it's across the top of the page, and the distance and location facet filters are combined, so people can choose one or the other. So we get this sub filtering going on. If you want to filter by distance or location, you click in here, and then you get to sub filter accordingly. And also just worth noting that you'll see 3 search facets here. If I had more than 3, the rest would be combined into a sort of a more button, which will appear here, and you drop down and you get to see all the other search facet filters there. Again, it's just about keeping this page tidy and ensuring this doesn't break any of your branding. So configuration, again, editing and setup recruiting. We saw that I unticked that a moment ago so that we could see the new create account feature for candidate accounts. But so we need to make sure this is on to be able to see those sidebars. And then we need to edit our default sidebar configuration. And again, I'll show you this shortly, but this is very much related to the image that we saw a second ago. But again, we can add whatever content we see fit here. But also worth noting that we're quite used to having to publish our external career sites and so on, but with sidebars, changes you make are immediately available. So it's worth taking that into account when you're making changes before you go and do that in your production system. And actually, just one note, you can see here I've got 3 rows. We can have a maximum of 8, but that's the number that Workday have defined, and it seems to be, so far in testing at least, enough. So if we wanted to create a new sidebar, we have the same options basically as editing an existing one. So I won't go through those. We'll go and look at that in a moment. But anyway, we need to, of course, update our external career site to use the new sidebar. And that's what we can see here. I'm just editing an external career site here, and you can see what I'm choosing my default sidebar. If we want to display different sidebars, excuse me, on job details, which is what we were seeing before, we need to create that sidebar configuration task and edit our job posting template and select the template of choice. And again, choose the right sidebar we like, and then the prospect introduce yourself confirmation message in there. There will be one, and we do that via the edit external career site task again in the prospect introduce yourself section. So we've got these different tasks now, and they're all secured by the setup career sites domain. And just be aware that if you're changing which sidebar your external career site is going to use, that you will need to publish to be able to see it. So again, let's just jump quickly into our tenant. And I'm going to stop the proxy. I won't demo creating a sidebar, as that's all sort of detailed in the slides there. But just to remind you of the new search jobs look and feel, in actual fact, let's go to our global career site again. And again, if I sign in here as an example user, you'll see this is our old format. That's how we're used to seeing it. If I go back into GMS and edit tenant setup, excuse me. Because we had to turn that feature off, obviously, for those requirements currently. If I tick it back on again, go back into my career site. Okay, let's try that again. Sometimes with the career sites, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but you need to sign in and sign out. and here we have the new external career site with our sidebar. And again, if I go into a job, I have a different sidebar, and so on. So you can see those different sidebars coming accordingly. I guess the important thing here is to notice that this sort of combined search function here, which is sort of, again, just to keep this clean and reduce how many we have over here, have been combined in, and we can go in and pick up the distance we like, whatever, add our postcode, is wherever that happens to be, and obviously search accordingly. So some additional considerations, and again I mentioned this, this feature doesn't work if you're using the error handling and help checks for candidate home accounts currently. So you need to sort of play with that, you need to turn that on and off. Workday, they say they're fixing that, so let's hope that's ready by go live. Also, it might not have been immediately obvious, but as we were in different areas in the external career site, including for each job posting, the site URLs were changing. This is really helpful for candidates, of course, because it means they can bookmark into particular search results or individual jobs. And of course, it's also good if we need to take a URL of a group of jobs that we wish to submit to other sites and so on, or to our own internal sites. Also, again, this is a sort of a technical point really here that Workday suggests you do not change the XML aliases for some of the distance, locations, time type, and date posted in the Find Jobs reports, because otherwise it potentially might change the way they appear on the screen. And not working now, but Workday do say that by go live, i.e. sometime in the preview window, this will also be available for tenants using Amazon Web Services rather than the more traditional Workday data centers. And they'll also be available for unpublished external career sites. And as I mentioned, if you're pulling that in new sidebars into an external career site, you have to publish it still. They're saying that should be available without publishing, and they're going to bring the SEO and OG tags to provide for enhanced link previews in your social platforms. So to summarise, we have a new search for jobs experience of candidates with those sidebars. We saw that I had different logos and text and so forth in there. You can also put videos. Of course, you'll need to sign up to the media services agreement with Workday for that. But anyway, those are all available, and they can be unique to different jobs based on the condition rules we built into our job posting templates. So if you remember, we saw a sort of a default and then a condition rule, and we can build additional different rules and have different content displayed out there. The configuration tasks are summarised here, but again, if you do nothing, report filters those report filters are going to change. They're going to go across the top of the screen anyway. And also just note that the expectation is that these features are going to be mandatory for Workday 2022R1. They're optional now, but they do expect this new sidebar functionality to be mandatory then. So our recommendation is you uptake these now and get used to using them. So, a bit of machine learning, candidate skills match. With this release, we can now utilise Workday's machine learning GA feature to score the candidates against job requisitions. So candidate skills match uses details from job requisitions and matches these against candidates' applications to give us a score for each application. And just to call out here really that you need to sign an innovation services agreement to use skills match, and I've included here a community link at that ISA as well, but you need to have signed that up using skills match and of course the ISA. So here we can see one job requisition along with its summary, its job description, additional description, and any skills which are listed in the qualifications tab. So if you do use qualifications, just note that skills marked as required will be given extra weight in the skills match than just information derived from the summary and description and so on. And skills marked, even though they're there, but if they're not marked as required, they will get the same weight as information derived from the summary and job description and additional job description. So in the candidate tab on a job requisition, as you know, we can see the applicants, the applications. With the candidate skills match enabled in the overview section, we can have these three new columns for our skills matching. So we can see our skills match score, which has 4 main possible scores: good, strong, good, fair, and low. And then there are 2 others. One is unable to score, which means that not enough data has been provided by the candidate or in the job requisition itself. And there's one called pending, which simply means that the system is currently thinking it's, but you'll rarely see that. That does seem to go away quite quickly. But anyway, it's an option. You might see it sometimes. And you can click into these scores and see all the details that are there. Excuse me. So here you can see I've clicked into this good, and it comes up and tells me that we've matched good. And what required skills there were relevant, i.e. that the required ones but the others were matched, and then the skills from the job requisition that were not matched. In the education and experience, education certificate and experience sections, we basically see extracted information from the job application and resume available for basically for you to review. It's purely there for reference. And in the skills matched section, we see all the job rec skills that were found in the job application, and of course in the skills not found, these are all those that are listed in the job requisition that were not found in the application. Configuration is relatively simple. We enable Skills Cloud. We opt into the machine learning GA features, update our security policies to enable access to the relevant, for the relevant security groups, and then we update the candidate list grid to display skills match information. And if I just pop back here one step, here's our, and no doubt you've seen this before, but perhaps not with these particular fields, but you'll have seen this anyway. This is our grid here that we need to configure. So I'm going to jump into the tenant for a bit of demo time again. Let's come away from here. First, I'll look at a job rec and review the details section. So let's go pick up another one. Let's go and look at 44. So here we see our job requisition, which is a lot of information. If we go into our candidates, excuse me, and come down to our grid, we can see, we've got a lot of information in here already anyway. But now in our grid, we've also got this skills matched, not matched, and our score. So these are all sort of pulled here from the machine learning functionality. These, as I say, these are all, as you saw in the slide before, they're all sort of pulled from the job description summary, job description, and the additional job description, and the qualifications tab listing those skills if you use skills in your job recs. So I can see those required skills. I can see those sort of optional ones. If I go to the qualifications tab, where are we? Skills match score, good. So in here, I can see what's matched and so forth. And in here, I can see the information that was pulled from the resume, so not so much for this particular one. And again, just literally information pulled straight out of the resume. But here's the kind of the important information. We can see what was matched, what was the relevant skills, what was the required ones, and so on. And again, if I pick up this Celia, she has a similar sort of information being provided, but again, it's all pulled from the application and then scored accordingly. I think that's. I honestly don't think there's anything much else to tell you about this. It's a really helpful feature, but there's not much configuration-wise to do aside from adding these fields into your grid, which one would assume you guys have all done because you've got. If you're seeing job recs like this, you'll have had these other fields already. So they're just some extra fields, and these are. I haven't renamed these. These are exactly what they're called: skills match score details, skills matched, and skills not found. So let's go back to our slide deck and our summary. We can now use machine learning to match candidates to job recs. We need to use Skills Cloud and opt into the machine learning GA features. We need to configure our domain security policies and update our candidate list grid. Obviously, if we take no action, those skills match fields simply won't be there on the job rec. Our recruiters won't be able to use them. So the next is fields in candidate notifications. We've touched a little bit on interview reminders already, but this is a more general piece about candidate notifications. So we now have some better access to fields to use when send messages or invite to apply or indeed on interview reminders, which we saw a little earlier. But this feature, as I say, it's also not only available there, but it's also available in business process notifications. So that's also very helpful because, of course, this reduces the need for sort of ad hoc messaging done by your recruiters. So for configuration, there are basically 4 steps. We first have to enable candidate fields in our tenant setup. Then we give access to the new security group, and there is a new security group listed here called Candidate Notification Receiver. We need to give access for that security group to whichever domains securing the fields that you want to use. And here I've listed the domains relevant to this feature. But of course, there's a lot of fields in there, so you need to go and sort of look through those and pick out the right domains to add the new security group, or just give it all, of course. But anyway. Step 3 is that we need to ensure that our routing rules for these notification types have an email channel that sends immediately. That's quite important, so that we don't get sort of sidelined, if you will, by the daily digest. And lastly, we can add our report and CAP fields to our message templates and notifications if we choose our report fields. Sorry, not report fields and CAP fields and so on. So let's again take a quick look at this in the tenant. I'm just going to go into again our favourite place, tenant setup recruiting. And here we've got a new tick box for these notifications. Excuse me. Where is it? Here, enable candidate fields in notifications. You'll notice I've already got it ticked off, but that's the one that needs to be ticked. And if we group, our new security group here, candidate notification receiver, which we can add to domains accordingly as we see fit. And again, if I look for one of our message templates, and choose, for instance, invite to apply. You can see that we've got some dynamic fields going on in here, and of course I can edit that straight from here. And I can go and add additional dynamic fields in here by using our tag feature here and searching for whatever information it is you happen to want to add there. I won't obviously save that. So if I were then to save that, of course, those new dynamic fields, etc., would be, included in any invite to apply that gets sent out. Let's just jump back into the presentation here. So one thing about candidates with this feature, please be aware that Workday will create a system account for each candidate when you enable the checkbox in Edit Tenant Setup Recruiting. If you remove the tick box, they will delete those automatically. Those system accounts they're purely for the security framework. They're not there's no information stored there. Candidates have no access to those. It's purely to facilitate the security framework that's going on behind. And just a list here showing which business objects hold the fields that can be used. So I won't go through them, of course, but just list them here so that you can easily decide which security policies you want to add to the new candidate notification receiver security group. And again, to summarise here, we now have dynamic data fields for our messaging and B2B notifications. We need to enable the access to the fields and then choose which fields to use. Update our message templates, and again, if we don't do anything, everything will just stay the same as it is now. So next up is the duplicate management framework. Again, we've seen that in Recruited for some considerable time, but now Workday are allowing us to have have a tab in our candidate profile where we can see those duplicates and take action on them directly from the profile. So we've also got 6 new report fields, all tied up, all secured to public reporting items. So I've just listed here the fields and which business objects they are in case you want to use those for your own reporting. And as far as configuration is concerned, we need to add the duplicate management card to our candidate or prospect profiles. We need to opt into the duplicate management framework if we're not already using that, and then configure that card. So when you access the configure profile summary tasks, set up the profile and add that overview card. And then we can also create custom report or conditional rules using those new report fields. And just to note that if we're using masked profiles, that's not going to work with this feature. How are we doing for time?
You're having
Tina,
15 more minutes. You have 15 minutes.
Right, so we have 40 slides to go, so I don't think we're going to get through all of this. So apologies to that. I did sort of think it might be a little tight, but again, this presentation will be available for you guys to download. And of course, if you want to talk through anything that we don't get through here, or anything that we do, then please just reach out to your recruiting consultant here, and we'll arrange some calls. So sorry, I didn't do the demonstration of duplicate management. So let me just in the tenant. So if I go and find John Smith, one of our candidates that we saw earlier. And go to his overview section. we can now see we've got this duplicates option here, and I can take action if I think John and Jane are actually the same person. I can merge that directly from here, and it goes into our, the same functionality that we've seen before. It's just that we're launching into that directly from the profile. So in summary, we now have a duplicates card that we can add to candidates and profiles and so on. And we've got 6 new report fields. We're going to need to opt in to duplicate management framework and configure our profile summary. And then, of course, we need to update security policies for the new new fields. But of course, since they're tied up to the public reporting items, shouldn't be such a big problem there. But just be aware that they are new fields. And again, if you do nothing but you opted in, the duplicate card will display on the overview tab. Otherwise, you won't have access to the feature of the new report fields. And of course, if you do nothing, those new report fields won't be available. Workday Docs. This is quite a very anticipated feature in recruiting. Just a quick background. In case you're not using Document Generator already, this is how we generate documents dynamically for business processes using a generate document step. The problem with it being is that those templates have always been quite complex. So one customer actually said to Workday that you almost need a crystal ball to understand what will come from a template you create, or even if you just edit one template. So with Workday Docs, we now have a new Microsoft Word-like experience. We don't need BERT, which is amazing. We can preview as we build, and we can very simply add rules or fields to our documents. And here I was going to show you what this kind of looks like in the new editor, the new Word-like editor. We'll see this in the tenant in a moment, but I just wanted to call out here that we can add, of course, rich text fields, but also dynamic data fields, condition rules, so we can condition rule on any of this text, so it only displays based on whatever conditions we've applied, and we can directly from here also go and edit and set up our headers and footers, and we can put images and resize them, and tables and so forth. As I say, it still continues to use DocGen, so it's not too bad an uptake as far as sort of scaling up, as it were. And as I say, absolutely great news, but we don't need BERT anymore, which is a miracle. And finally, just to call out that we can show or hide the condition rules when we want to preview what we're doing, and in the new editor we can actually preview as we go along, and we can turn those condition rules on and off in there, so we can see what it would look like with or without those particular areas. And also, once a document's generated, we can review the actual document in our inbox and go and sort of see how that's coming along, which is really nice for testing as well, if you want to see the sort of end result, as it were, before taking it live. And our BP steps don't need to change. Any existing templates you have will continue to function, so there's no immediate concerns. So just a few considerations here. Currently, we only get to use this Roboto font. That may change in the future, but currently that's only one font. Characters are not too reliable when you're rendering in non-Latin, especially Chinese and Russian. And you can't translate versions of the same template, so you need different templates. So let me just quickly dive in. I've got a little time left, 5 minutes. So we'll just jump into the tenant again. This is something that you run, this editor, through Drive. So of course people will need access to Drive. And if we've had Drive for some time, so if you haven't got that set up already, I'm not going to go through that today, but you will need access to Drive. If I go in and have a look at for instance, my files, and if I were to look up message templates, oh, sorry, that's the wrong thing. Let me go and do that again. My files. Here, filter. So let's go and look at a document template. And here's one I was working on a little earlier to show you what this looks like in the system now directly. So as you can see, I've got a very sort of Microsoft Word-like feel to this. I can choose my different heading types, font sizes, and text formatting options here, colours and highlighting and justifications, bulleting. I can add images, tables. I can lock, insert links, beg pardon. I can directly add page breaks into here, and I can lock text, and that's something I've done here already. So, for instance, if I didn't want my people to be able to edit this particular text, I can just highlight it and lock it. And again, I've added here, again, here's my dog and the beach, but just to show you, I can add tables quite easily here, and we can add extra columns here, and we can resize these and drag things around. So we can do this all quite simply, very similar to Microsoft Word. And for our data fields, we have a managed data fields section, so fields and conditions. And we can go into here if we wanted to. We can just copy and paste these, for instance, Control C, Control V. So that's kind of quick. But we can also go and add fields that are already used, or we can just go and using our tag feature, go and just add a field. So in the insert feature, so whatever it happens to be we want. And we can see here the business object. And if we go to the related actions here, we can see a bit more information about the field. So we can be very conscious about what it is we're adding, and then we can add in our field. It is all in direct one place, and as I mentioned, we can preview that as we go along and build. So we can see what that template looks like with those fields looking like fields themselves. And we can, as I mentioned before as well, we can add conditions. So we may only want this piece of text to be shown if there's a particular condition, let's say company. So now that's conditional text, and we can see it's marked accordingly. And if I preview, I might want to see that text as it is, but I might not want to. So I can go and hide that. And if I preview this now, it won't show that. And if I view it, when I preview it, will show that text. So again, nice, really easy way for us to see that. And again, if we want to, add page breaks, again, that was always a bit of a nuisance before. Now it's super simple to do. That's just the entire sort of process there, if you will. I think that's a really nice feature. I'm sure that's going to get used a lot. And again, if you need help with this, by all means, do reach out to us, and we can have one of our recruiting guys help you with that. So again, what's changing there? We have the new Word-like editor. We need to create our documents from inside Drive and attach those templates to our generate document steps and our BPs. And if you do nothing, the previously used templates will just continue to function in the normal way. I think we are actually out of time here. Tina?
Nope, you have still 5 minutes or like 4 minutes.
4 minutes, good. Okay, all right.
Yes.
So these, thank you. So a couple of quick, sort of faster pieces here, really. Workday Assistant for in-progress job requisitions. With this release, you can now get a quick status update on job requisitions as they go through their process, just by using the Workday Assistant chatbot. Obviously, as you guys may know already, you need to sign the ISA form to opt in to use Workday Assistant. This is sort of how your users would experience this. They just type in "show me my job requisitions." If you've got multiple job requisitions out there, Workday's system will come back and ask you to specify how you want to filter those, just so that hiring managers can and recruiters can sort of see what's going on with their job requisitions. So here, just to show, as a user that's secured to multiple supervisory organisations, Robert, one of our recruiters, if he says "show me my job requisitions," he's going to get a list of supervisory organisations. He can then click into those, and he'll only then see the job requisitions relevant to that supervisory organisation. And then if he chooses one, then he gets the full detail of that job rec, which supervisory organisation it's for, which job rec it is, when it's created, who's up next, and what is up next. And here we're just seeing Peggy, who is secured to just one supervisory organisation, and actually there's only one existing job rec, so when she asks to see them, she just gets the information straight away. And I can quickly show you this in the tenant because this is super easy. If we just go back to the desk, I'll go in as Carmen, one of our recruiters, proxy as her. If we go into the assistant and just type we can see that Carmen just has this one and it's popped out rather than multiple because there's only one going on in our test tenant, unlikely like that in your real tenant, of course. But anyway, we can see here, and we can drill through into the actual job requisition or to the person we're waiting for, and go and see that information directly from there. Additionally, just note the results are returned in chronological order. But awaiting actions and up next are in alphabetical order, so that the awaiting person might not match the first action listed. And also, if the user has more than 100 in progress job recs, the chatbot will tell the user to go and view the in progress job recs task rather than trying to use it inside the Workday Assistant. It's currently available in English, Canadian French, Continental French, and Spanish coming soon. Other languages, not yet. They haven't confirmed anything yet about Finnish. And also, you can use this functionality directly from Teams and Slack. So that's really helpful for your guys if you're using Teams or Slack. You need to subscribe to the Innovation Services Agreement and opt into Workday Assistant, as I mentioned. Obviously, users need to be secured to be able to see job requisitions. And in the system, we can actually disable this specific feature if we require. So we can stop people seeing job recs if that's something you would like to do. But you do want to use Workday Assistant for other reasons. Just a quick summary there. We spoke through all that. And then the other features, which again, I think now Tina will probably tell me I'm out of time.
Yes, I would say if there is like something you would like to specifically emphasize, then of course you can still, because we have a little buffer for the end, but.
Okay, well, I'll just try and go through this very, very quickly then, if I can just have a couple of minutes. This is something that you'll see in Workday all over the place, not just in recruiting now. We have these mini conclusions. They're also working in recruiting now. So when you submit a task or you take action on a step in a BP, you get this pop-up now, which is Workday call it mini conclusions. You can go and click into the view details to view more information. And of course, if there's a step for that particular user to take, then they have a button to do that directly there. These are replacing the step notifications that we've all been using for some time. We have some more translations. For this release, Bulgarian, Croatian, Czech, Greek, Serbian, Slovenian, and Ukrainian are coming. And again, Workday don't deliver to us a list of exactly which fields are being translated, but they'll be the same ones that have been translated previously for other languages. But again, if you want to see that, then I would recommend finding a Bulgarian or Croatian speaker or Czech or whatever, and asking them to go and look at that for you. This is a bit of a bigger feature. Microsoft are, I believe, retiring this Exchange Web Services APIs. So if you are integrating your recruiting, your scheduled interviews out to people's Outlook, then you'll need to start using Microsoft Graph REST APIs instead. If those backend settings have been agreed and a user tries to schedule an interview, they're going to see this message here. And the nice thing with this is that this configuration, okay, there's a lot of IT stuff going on behind there, but actually it only has to be set up once, whereas previously with EWS, users would be asked to, or IT would be asked to confirm security settings again and again, not for every time, but on a sort of a schedule, if you will. Whereas with Graph, it's a once choice. Once you've chosen, it's in. You can turn it off, of course, but the API won't ask you to confirm again. Just be aware also that it gives access to places, conference rooms, occasions, that sort of stuff. You need to sign into Workday. It'll sign into Workday and read profile data, and it'll give access to calendars. And again, because this is very integrations related, just I've added a link here so you can go and look at that further if you wish. And here's a summary of what's changing for you to review later. And then we're talking about the features from the prior release that didn't make it into the last release event. So again, I'll leave these here for you to review. But basically, we have branching questions now in our supplementary questionnaires for recruiting. We can start job requisitions on mobile, and for USA and Canada only, postal code validations are on when candidates sign up for their candidate home account on your external career sites. And then there was a roadmap, and again, I'll leave this in here for you to review through. So apologies for being a bit of a run over on the time there, but hopefully that was useful information. And of course, we look forward to hearing from any of you if there's anything in there that you'd like to talk through.
Ian, can you please jump back on the previous page? Because this is very important. I would like to ask everyone to give us a feedback. And also, you're welcome to join the digital HR community via the link that is above. So there is the TietoEVRY.com/digital-HR. And other than that, I would like to thank you, Ian.
You're welcome.
So thank you very much for the insightful presentation. And now, as our last speaker for this two-day event, I would like to invite Sami Soimio, who will tell us what's new in Workday Learning. So Sami, are you here with me? And unfortunately, it seems you're muted. So let's please try to fix that quickly.
There, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yep, sorry. And you should be able to see my screen.
Yes, it's coming up. So just switch it to the presenter's mode and it's there. So you're good to go. Thank you.
All right. So hello everybody and welcome to this final session of this event, and it is about learning, and the scope is Workday 2021 Release 2 related features. And here quickly the practicalities are the same as in other sessions, so you can post questions and answers, and we have questions, and we have some QA time in the end. Let's see how the schedule is now. We are a little bit behind, but then we will answer to your questions by email then if we don't have time to go them through now. And session recording will be available, and you should have the handouts available also already. And Tina already mentioned this digital HR insights community that you're welcomed. So a few words about me. So my name was again Sami Soimio, and I've been on these events before, also presenting the learning area. So I might be familiar to some of you. And I'm a lead functional consultant here at TietoEVRY in our Espoo headquarters office, and I have 15+ years of experience with different HCM implementation projects with different tools, SAP, SuccessFactors, and Workday. And my certifications in the Workday area are the core certificate and also then the learning certificate. And Safe Harbor applies as always in these sessions. All right, so the agenda briefly here. So really the limitation is the Workday 2021 Release 2. So we have a couple of certification related in the beginning, and then we jump into the external learning. So that is actually then the extended enterprise area. And then we have a little bit of a topic, a feature about learning instructors. There is a little bit of overlapping with these features regarding the instructors and personas, but since Workday has they are separate features, release features, so we kept them as a separate. So don't be wondering why if there's a little bit of overlapping on the topics. Then a small feature about preferred language setting for the external learning users. So again, that is extended enterprise area. Not many of you probably are not using the extended enterprise edition, but let's see those ones anyway. Then a few other features, and then briefly the roadmap. Right, so learning certifications. So with this release, there will be this certification can be released and renewed based on the learning content. So basically what it means that for example, when you complete, for example, let's say some kind of a health and safety course in the learning or program, then it will automatically trigger you a certification in that area. So that is something that customers has been asking quite a lot, and now it is here in this feature. Now, one thing to be noted here, the intended preview date has been updated to next month, the 17th of September. Thus, we are not able to demo it yet since it's not in any of the systems yet, but it should be there then next month. And note also that the intended production date is actually 2022, so there is a bit more time to test and explore that one. Here are a few screenshots anyway regarding the topic that Workday has already published. Just note that this is preliminary information, so it's not in the review yet. So here is what the flow, how the learner will see, how the workflow would see. So first of all, the learner would find some content in the learning area and notice that, okay, this is regarding the certification also that I would like to have, for example, this health and safety certification. Then the learner completes the content successfully, and after that he or she has completed the content, the certification will be awarded, and then the learner can have a look at the certification and achievements in his or her profile. Then an admin flow, what it will look for the admin, or how the flow will go for admin. And again, this is a preliminary information. So there will, first of all, there has to be these learning certifications created. Now, note actually that these certifications are on talent module area. So there is a little bit here, we are overlapping learning and talent areas overlapping here. So if you haven't been working with these certifications before, it might be due that if you haven't been working with talent areas, so then this might sound a bit new to you. And after the certification exists, for example, this let's say the safe and healthy certification in the system, then there is this learning certification rule. So this is the one that combines actually the content in the learning, for example, a course, and then the completion of the course is connected to this learning certification. So that's the main engine here, the rule. Then there can be also business process approvals. So just that if you don't want the certification to be issued automatically, there can be some approval added there that, for example, learning admin or the manager needs to approve it first, that you have completed this course and now you have the certification. And then, of course, then there are some reports available and tools for reporting these, that who has and which certification. Here is also a few screenshots just on the Workday's presentation. So note this is again preliminary information. So here is a learner is searching in the learning area, found a course, and she can see that, okay, there is actually a certification related to this health and safety here. So it's marked there that there's a certification, and also on the program, this is actually a program. Also in the program details, there is the mentioning that this program includes a certification, and here we see that when the learner has completed this program, he has successfully received the completed and earned the certification here. It's also mentioned here. Right. Additional considerations. So as mentioned before, the certifications are not in the learning area actually, and so they can't be they can't be processed like the normal learning object like courses or enrolled. So it's actually in the talent area. But and then the dates here again to remind you about the dates. So we recommend you to follow the updates in Workday community. So here is the link for the What's New post where Workday is updating if there will be some changes to the dates or to the content. Okay, next one then we have certifications for external learning users. So now we're talking of external learning users. So this is a extended enterprise area. So a few words about the extended enterprise. In general, it's a separate SQA extended enterprise, and it's with this extended enterprise, the organizations can open up their learning materials to external users. For example, let's say your partners, your subcontractors, if they would need to complete some kind of for example, security trainings or something, that's with this extended enterprise you can open it up for your external users. And these users are then specific users, extended enterprise users, so they can't use the system anything else except for this learning area. But again, it's a separate SQA. All right, so here a change is that these external learners can now add certification by themselves to Workday. Earlier on, it was not possible for these external learners to do it. And also then there are also these external learning administrators, which also can be like your subcontractors. They are also able to add it for their external learners. And here a few screenshots. Actually, we could go to the system. Let's see. I'm here in the system and I will start proxying as an external user. Let me have a look at my notes here. I have prepared, we have, so let's see. We have this Bailey West and you can see the E sign here. So that is means that it's an extended enterprise external user, so with that E. So I'm proxying as Bailey here. And here we can go to my profile. So here I see the certifications. Now this is this has been added here. Earlier on, it was not possible to here add, for example, now she can herself add a certification here. Let's see, by issuer, something like Help Desk Institute. And then there's also a possibility to have the date when you have completed these, when the actual certification has been issued, and if there's a certification expiration date for it. And also you can even attach, for example, a PDF of the actual certification here. I'm not going to save that now there, but that is now possible there. Okay, there's also a business process related to that called managed certification, where then you can add your, if you need some approvals and this kind of stuff. Clock is ticking, so let's go to the next one. So here again, the learner view. So here, a quick summary. What was it? This is extended enterprise learner certification management. And here, what you need to do is configure the managed certification business process and these domains. So there's a self-service certifications and person data certifications. And these are actually, you find them under Talent Core. If you can't find them, they're actually in Talent Core. If you do nothing, then these external learning users won't have the functionality of this certification to add or edit or remove them for themselves or external learners. So a really useful functionality if you are using the extended enterprise. You can sort of give the extended enterprise managers, those can then start taking control of their certification, or even the external learners themselves.
Sorry, Sami, to interrupt you. There is a question coming up. So it's regarding the certification. Is there any relation with enrollment expiration and certification expiration? If the certification is issued based on course completion, which has expired, will the expiration remain in the enrollment level, or is it somehow linked to certification?
That is some very good question. That is a good question. I think we need to check that with and come back to that one. Very good question.
All right, so we're going to check it and test it, and then it's going to be included in the email after the event.
Yeah, I think we're sending, isn't it so that we send all the questions? Yeah, good. Any more questions regarding that topic?
No, not yet. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's jump to the next one. So there's a unified system account for external learning personas. So so here Workday now enables multiple extended enterprise personas to share a single system account. So what does that mean in practice? So earlier on, these personas, typically you would have a learner and then you would have an instructor. So earlier on, if the extended enterprise, if the same person was was an instructor and also a learner, there was a need to create two system account. But now with this one, they can use the same single system account. And where they deliver, the Workday delivers all the new person type and business processes that gives you the flexibility here to control that who can actually then manage these external system accounts. So then here we are talking extended enterprise learner or external learning instructor personas. And here briefly the configuration. So you need to configure the new manage external learning user business process and security policy. So this is one of the new user type. The external learning user is the new user type. And also you need to then configure the manage external learning instructor business process and security policy if you are using external learning instructors. Of course, it can be the case that you don't use external learning instructors, even if you are using the extended enterprise, that you have just external learning users, but not instructors. But I think usually it's the case that you will also then maybe have external learning instructors. And here listed these tasks that can be used then. The first one, you create the external learning user. So first you have to create the system account. And then the next one, create extended enterprise learner. So now you have the learner. And if the same person, besides being a learner, is also an instructor, you have to create also an external learning instructor. And here one note that existing users who have already external user account, those will be converted by Workday. And you can then use this edit external learning user task if you need to modify these existing accounts. Let's see quickly this in the system also. Let me check. We have check my notes here on them. So we have the business processes. Manage external learning. Let's see. So you see here are the new business processes. So the learning user, so that will create like the system account. It's a very simple business process that we have here. Of course, you can add your approvals and security related stuff here. So we have allowed it implementers and learning administrators. So that was that one. And here we have, after you have created the learning user, you can create the learning instructor also if it's beside a learning. So a very simple business process also here. All right. And let's have a look at the tasks. I'll show you edit external learning user. And here we use, I have this Bailey West that I proxied, for example. So let's see what it looks like, the external learning user. So we see here not much information maintained here. So this is like the system account here. So you see here's the username, email address. Here in this email address, she will, for example, receive the welcoming email. Basic stuff here, basic user stuff. What I would like to highlight here, there is one feature regarding this, that here is the preferred locale, preferred display language. So these are now the admin, when creating this, can also set already for the learner external learning user account. So then they would receive, for example, the welcoming email on their preferred display language. For example, for Finnish users, you might want to select Finnish here. And also the locale, which again controls how you see the date and clock time format. So that's also a new feature. Workday has listed this as a new feature. These two fields are here, can be maintained. Okay. Just checking. Let's see what we have. So here was just a few pictures, and here what is changing. Oops, sorry, I think. Sorry about that. Here we are actually on this. So here was the configuration. And a few examples. And here again, there is a manage extended enterprise learner business process remains the same. You don't need to reconfigure it. So just to know that these are the learner business process has been there before, but now there was the new one with the instructor, extended enterprise instructor was the new one. And the existing managed learning instructor business process has been renamed. So that is now referring that it's only referring to internal learning instructors, since for these extended enterprise external instructors, we will have the new business process. So that's why it's been renamed, that it refers only to the internal instructors. It's it sounds at first glance it might be a bit confusing, but take your time and go through this material and you will get it. So basically it's quite simple. Earlier on, if you had the same person was being as a learner and also an instructor on the external instructor and external learner, so they needed two user accounts, but now they need only one user account, which can be then there can be linked two personas. So external instructor and external learner, and then this existing managed learning instructor business process has to be changed. And a few additional consideration: if you are using external instructors, but you don't use extended enterprise otherwise, these use cases are also some customers are on that use case. So here are very good instructions. So you still need to do some things, some actions still need to be taken if you use the external instructors, but not the extended enterprise SQA. But I leave it here so you can go it through, since I think we are a bit having a bit of a time pressure here. And brief overview, what has been changed here. And also then this is a bit overlapping here, manage internal learning instructor. So again, regarding the same topic here as the previous one, but Workday has put it as a separate feature. So there is now business process separate for creating internal and external instructors are now separated. So, and of course you need to check then the securities for the external learning instructors, and that's a new one. Here also note that see also this previous feature, that these are a bit overlapping. And configuration briefly here also some example views how it looks for the external learning instructor. So you see here the difference when you are creating an external learning instructor. You can here, for example, select the learning vendor. So from which company this external learning instructor is coming from. And here you can set the persona status, so you can inactivate it or put an expiration date or normally then activate when this learning instructor should be active. And again, note here that Workday will convert all the existing external instructors and creates an external learning user account for them. So that now in the future they will need the user account, and then there is a persona linked to this user account. But for the existing one, Workday is converting those ones. Brief summary of that. Okay, then this brief language and locale settings for external learning users, that we already have a look in the system, but here you can see, so it was here. So then here on the preferred locale and preferred display language can be maintained for the external learning user. So, and just to note here that it's, for example, their this welcome account email would be then in their preferred language if you maintain that one. Okay, briefly, other features. So there will be on the program level, there are these reminders. So similar reminders that you have maybe familiar with already with the, for example, with the courses. So you can maintain that on the program level. So here you see there, for example, here is a new hire training, and this is a program, not a course. This is a program. So here you see that you can create a reminder here. There is a added functionality for that. And here, similar functionality as actually it uses the course reminder functionality there behind it. So very similar. So you can put you can set the title, and then of course the reminder content, and then of course the dates when it's sent. For example, 1 week before the due date and so on. So similar functionality as from course functionality. I think I don't have really time to have a look at it on the system, but you can look at it on your preview system. And another one for regarding the external learning instructors. There is now calendar access opened also for these external learning instructors. So when they here, for example, is a view of a external learning instructor, and she is using the instructor dashboard. So there is now the My Schedule available. So that's nice. They would be able to see if they have some trainings that they are instructors. If they would have those assigned, they would see them in here in their calendars. And this feature is automatically available, so no configuration needed, which was the same also actually for this reminders here. Tina, would we have any questions, time for questions regarding this, or?
We have some questions lined up, but I think we would just leave them for the email because we are out of time. So if you can just wrap up.
Yeah. Just briefly the roadmap here. So the road learning future. So there will be, so Workday, as you know, there is the new learner experience. So there's some improvements coming to the enrollment area, and also the learner transcript. So how they see their transcript. X-API discovery, so that has been on this roadmap for some quite time. So Workday is still working on that. Interesting here for me is this Google Calendar integration. So also now there is the Outlook calendar integration that is in the production, and Workday is now looking to expand that also to the Google Calendar integration. Here on the admin side, some admin experience enhancements. So similar to as the learner experience, so still further expanding the new experience to the admin side. Assessors, so assessors are the ones who actually make evaluations on the courses, so some kind of a improvements on assigning these, and also some improvement on the mobile area for grading and assessment, course assessment. And then creating a course, there is some improvement planning there. And scheduling, multi-offer scheduling is also on Workday's radar there. So that's very briefly, and I'm sorry about a little bit of time pressure, so didn't have much time to do the demos, but you can have a look them and then in the material and in your preview tenants. And feedback is highly valued, as Tina has mentioned earlier on the sessions, and please post if you have any more questions. We will answer them then via email after the event. Okay.
Thank you very much, Sami, for your presentation. And as said, I'm very happy that we ran through this 2 days with all of you. So special thanks to our attendees, and also thanks to you presenters for 2 days of insightful information. And please, our guests, don't hesitate to reach out to us, either to me or Katrin, or directly to any of the presenters. Please, if you wish to learn more about our services, then check out TietoEVRY.com/workday. And then also, if you want to reach out to any of our sales representatives, then it would be Hannele for global sales and Finland, then Tom for Norway, and Emily for Sweden. So once again, thanks a lot, and reach out to us if we could help you still more with this new release. Have a great afternoon.